totally united, cohesive people willing to take the risks and, if necessary, to lose the lives and to use all the resources that we need to go after terrorism, which is the greatest threat to civilization and has been for years. And that is also new. It's not just more complex in terms of who the enemy is and how to identify them, but it is also, in a way, it's so important that we have that cohesion among the American people, and that is very different from some recent engagements, and that is one of the reasons why we will prevail.
Senator Warner, as we look at these pictures from a candlelight vigil now continuing in Boston, I want to point out to you a new poll that CNN and Time magazine has just released on a very sensitive subject, and get your reaction on the question of should the United States assassinate terrorist leaders. Look at this, 81% say yes, they favor that, only 16% oppose. As you know, there's been an executive order in place since 1977, I believe, opposing, or 1976, opposing, barring the U.S. from engaging in assassinations. What do you say about this?
I would say that we should take into consideration the sentiments of the American people, debate that issue very carefully and very thoroughly in the Congress of the United States, in consultation with the President, and then cast a vote on it. You know, I pick up on the chairman. The chairman said this nation's united, and he is right. I have in my hand a resolution passed today in less than 1 hour on the floor of the United States Senate, which is stronger than a declaration of war and gives our president, President Bush, the authority to use such force as necessary to pursue these terrorists. So for the time being, we're operating under the existing framework of laws.
Senator Levin, before I ask you the next question, I just want to update our viewers. We've got an additional piece of breaking news. In addition to the arrest warrant that was released earlier today, we have just now confirmed that an actual arrest has been made in connection with this investigation. We don't have details. We're working on that. We should be providing those details shortly, but an arrest has been made in this investigation, the first, we believe, formal arrest in this investigation. Senator Levin, another question we asked in our CNN Time magazine poll was this: should the U.S. reinstate the military draft if a ground war is necessary to fight this war against terror? 66% favor it, 28% oppose it. Do you think it will be necessary to go back to a draft?
If it is, we should do it. We should not be reluctant to use all of the forces at our command, including our citizen armies and including a draft. So the reserves today, we're going to be called up to 50,000 of them. Those are our citizen soldiers, and the draft, if it's necessary to prevail, I would vote for it, absolutely. This is December 8th, 1941, but this time it's a war against terrorism. But the people here are so determined. We have that absolutely unified determination. So yes, if we need the draft in order to carry out a successful war, I would vote for it. Again, I emphasize, we need a strong coalition, and I believe we're going to be able to put it together, because that is important in terms of success. We need the time to prepare for this effort. We need the time to prevail, because we must prevail, and part of that success is going to be achieved because I believe so many nations, some of whom have never participated with us, this time will join against the common scourge of terrorism.
And we only have a few seconds left, Senator Warner. In the many years you've been in Congress in Washington, you're a Republican, Senator Levin is a Democrat. Have you ever seen the U.S. Congress as united as it is right now?
No, very clearly, and this is evidence of it. 10 years ago, I helped draft the resolution that George Bush, then president, won the Gulf War with our coalition allies. It was 3 days and 3 nights of ferocious debate on the Senate floor, and it prevailed by only 5 votes. This one is 100 votes. What clear evidence, Senator Levin and I worked on the drafting with our leadership of this, what clear evidence of the unity in the Congress, and the Congress speak for the people of the United States.
Senator Warner and Senator Levin, I want to thank both of you very much for joining us. Meanwhile, ceremonies and vigils continue across the country tonight on this day of prayer and remembrance. This was the scene a short time ago in Somerset, Pennsylvania, near where one of the hijacked planes crashed on Tuesday. It was a similar scene in Birmingham, Alabama, where a large crowd held candles and listened to patriotic songs and Americans weren't mourning alone today. 75,000 people turned out for a ceremony in the Canadian capital of Ottawa. Prime Minister Jean Chrétien led that crowd and all of Canada in observing 3 minutes of silence. In London, thousands sang the Star-Spangled Banner at a prayer service attended by Prime Minister Tony Blair, Queen Elizabeth, and many Americans. One of the largest gatherings anywhere today was in Berlin, Germany, where more than 200,000 people filled the area around the Brandenburg Gate. German President Johannes Rau told the crowd that no one knows better than the people of Berlin what America has done for democracy and freedom. Even Iran, whose leaders commonly refer to the United States as the Great Satan, has been moved by Tuesday's attacks. 60,000 people at a World Cup qualifying match in Tehran, which we just saw, observed a moment of silence in honor of the victims of Tuesday's attack. We're now going to show you an interview that the president gave to David Gregory. He was a pool reporter for the White House press corps who joined the president in New York. Listen to this.
Well, I'm shocked at the size of the devastation. And it's hard to describe what it's like to see the gnarled steel and broken glass and twists the building, silhouetted against smoke. I said that this was the first act of war on America in the 21st century, and I was right, particularly having seen the scene. However, out of the rubbles and ash and ugliness, there's a lot of good. Starting with the guys from LA that are here. They've come all the way over from California to help brothers and sisters in need. That's a symbol of the greatness of the country. This is a country that's coming together. I was also struck by how angry many of the workers were, in spite of the fact that they had worked to exhaustion. Yeah, they're angry. They're angry at the people who did the crime. They're angry at the people who destroyed life. They're angry at people who caused the devastation. And as I said, I heard their anger. America will feel the same way. And our response will be one that is justified.
So what's your level of satisfaction with how the investigation is progressing and how the intelligence gathering is going at this point?
I am satisfied that America has rallied during this terrible tragedy. I'm satisfied that the compassion of the nation has risen to the surface. I'm satisfied that if in any community, if we asked for help, we would find it. I'm also satisfied that the 4,000 FBI agents are working tirelessly to gather all the evidence that can be gathered, to find those who may still be in our country if they are here. I'm satisfied that our planning for possible future actions is going on course. But most of all, I'm satisfied and I'm pleased to be an American. This is a proud moment for our country. Out of this terrible devastation and ruin, the greatness of America shines forth. And I'm here just to, as best as I possibly can, to thank the American people who are helping here and to give comfort to those who hurt. A lot of the firefighters who we saw had tears in their eyes because they lost loved ones, and their brothers are missing. It's a sad moment to be with them. And the least I can do is to give them a hug and maybe encourage them some. We're gathering all the possible evidence. At the appropriate time, we will let America know what the evidence says.
Do you feel like you know who did it?
We know we got a suspect.
Thank you all.
Mr. President,
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Let's go back out the way we came in. Everyone, please. President Bush saying, quote, "We know we have a suspect," answering questions as he was touring the rubble outside what used to be the World Trade Center in New York. We're joined now by two leaders of the Roman Catholic Church, Cardinal Edward Egan of New York, and Cardinal Theodore McCarrick of Washington. He has a family connection to the tragedy. Thank you so much for joining us, Cardinal Carrick. Tell us about your family connection.
Well, one of the young firefighters, Michael Lynch, is a relative of mine. He's missing now. Apparently his company went in early, and he might have been lost as the building came down on top of them. So we still have hope, but we're not sure what the story is.
And Cardinal, I take it you were due to marry him in November, is that right?
That's right. That's right. I had seen him at his brother's wedding. I married his brother about a month ago, and he was supposed to be married himself in November. So there's still a lot of hope, but we're realistic.
Cardinal Egan, as we speak, we're showing live pictures of candlelight vigils all across the country. This one in Providence, Rhode Island. How do you explain to members of your diocese in New York? How do you explain what happened in terms of how God allowed this tragedy to take place?
Well, I've tried to say at every step along the way that we are in the hands of a provident and a loving God, and that we've got to keep that clearly in mind at every step. This has been a very, very difficult week for New York. I was down in the World Trade Center area with the President today and offered a prayer at his request, and I felt that the police officers and the firefighters, the emergency workers, the healthcare professionals, and our outstanding civic leadership were with us 100%, trusting in the Lord, anxious to see to it that justice is served, but careful to see to it that we don't allow ourselves to fall into any hatreds or any desires for revenge. We want to deal with this in a civilized manner. We want to bring the perpetrators before civilized courts and deal with them as civilized, noble, decent human beings, the kind of people we've seen here in New York over the last several days.
Cardinal Egan, as we speak, we're looking at some pictures, excuse me for interrupting, of members at this candlelight vigil in Manhattan outside the Armory, where people are searching, continuing to search for their loved ones. How do you comfort these people who are searching for family members right now missing since Tuesday morning?
Well, to tell you the truth, Mr. Blitzer, I've been involved in that every day. I was down in Lower Manhattan at St. Vincent's all day when the two buildings came down. I gave the final anointing, last rites, as they say, for a number of people. I found my arms around a lot of hurting people, but I also found at the same time that when I reminded them that we are the children of a loving God, that they were more than willing to accept that point of view. We've had tonight at St. Patrick's Cathedral something like 2,500 people who came in for Mass. Nothing special, just the evening Mass. They were there to pray. As I came here from St. Patrick's to your studio, all along the streets, people were walking with candles. People were setting candles in front of churches, in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral as we turned the corner. People were there. They're expressing trust. They're expressing confidence. We're a people of faith. And I believe we've seen ourselves to be a noble and decent people. You cannot imagine the kind of dedication all of us have witnessed in our police officers, our firefighters. Tomorrow I have the funeral of Father Michael Judge, who is one of the archdiocesan chaplains for the Fire Department of New York. He died with a firefighter. The fire